Horizon just mostly reaction. This is bombers changed forever, and you didn't even notice. But on sandboxx. In 1999, the United States Air Force bought two groundbreaking new bombing technologies to bear in Operation Allied Forces, and bomber operation would never be the same after. Okay, it changed 20 plus years ago, 25 years ago. Okay, bombers are bombers. Like, I don't get it. What you mean changed, right? But like your basic bomber is just like big cargo payload with an insane range. Then it's becomes stealth with B2. I don't know what he's going to talk about here. It's sandboxx, right? He knows a lot of these things. He knows a lot of people, so it's going to be interesting because I like to think I know a lot by now about like military things after watching all this video. But even then, I don't know much. It's just weird, right? So maybe I'll learn a thing or two. So let's watch it.
If you were born before the year 2000, you may not realize it, but you have lived to see a complete revolution in the way bombers are employed in warfare. One that's sure to be discussed in history books.
B-52, I'm guessing. B-1 Bone. And obviously B-2.
For decades to come. And it's largely because a bomber's really only as good as the ordnance that it carries. And up until, well, my lifetime, bombs just didn't change all that much. The first strategic bombing campaign arguably started back in 1917, when a group of German biplane heavy bombers took off from Belgium intent on striking targets inside London. And despite 17 bombers dropping 72 bombs, flying at speeds of only around 65 miles per hour, only 3 of those bombs actually found the train station that was their target, with the rest falling within a roughly
I mean, when you really think about it, that was like an insane thing they come up with, right? Like before that, like think about any war, doesn't matter what. In order to damage a city, you need to siege it, and then you can damage it. This is the first time people are like, what if we carpet bomb the thing and panic the whole city and whole country? This was the first time, right? This basically made Germans a lot of boogeymen, like people like back then, like you can already see all the photos of people hiding under metro and shit. This basically all started with that.
1 mile radius of their intended target. By 1943, aircraft technology had advanced significantly, and so did bomb sights, but we were still basically just dropping bombs out a door in the airplane. And as a result, the circular error probable of bombs dropped by American bombers at the time was roughly 1,200 feet. Now, what that means is that only 16% of bombs landed.
All right, I get it, what he's going to talk about here. I clicked just now. Yeah, I guess bombs became more like laser guided and like not just simple things that you drop and let the gravity do its thing.
Within 1,000 feet of their intended targets. By 1944, one U.S. Army Air Corps study determined that it took 108 B-17 bombers, dropping 648 bombs, to achieve a 96% success rate on striking one industrial target. And this is really why carpet bombing was such a common practice throughout so much of the 20th century. It wasn't really that you wanted to lay waste to an entire swath of that adversary nation. It was that you had to make sure you could hit the targets you actually wanted to hit somewhere in that nation. And by 1972, things still hadn't really changed all that much when Operation Linebacker 2 kicked off in December of that year, which saw some 200 B-52 bombers drop roughly 20,000 tons of ordnance all across North Vietnam over 11 straight days. Now, this campaign saw 15 B-52s shot down, 6 in a single day. But because it took so many sorties and so many bombs to achieve their objectives, this was actually only a 2% loss rate, and Linebacker 2 was considered a success. But then, in 1991's Desert Storm, things began to shift, largely thanks to the introduction of laser-guided bombs, deployed from platforms like the F-117 Nighthawk. But while we often do think of precision-guided ordnance when we think of Desert Storm, those laser-guided bombs actually represented a fairly small percentage of the bombs dropped on Iraq. Desert Storm, only 10,000 of them were laser guided, with the rest being unguided dumb bombs that, again, despite advancements in bomb sight technology, still usually only landed within roughly 200 feet of their intended targets. But then, in 1999's Operation Allied Force, the United States brought two new bombing technologies to bear. The first was the B-2 Spirit, which had entered service just 2 years earlier as the world's first, and to this day only, stealth heavy payload bomber. But the second was the JDAM, or Joint Direct Attack Munition. Development on the JDAM started right after Desert Storm in 1992, as the US recognized the immense value of these precision-guided bombs, but wanted to overcome the challenges facing laser-guided munitions, as lasers can't shine through clouds or smoke or dust. So they turned to inertial navigation supported by new GPS technologies, all tied in to a tail kit that could be installed on pre-existing unguided bombs, turning dumb bombs.
Yeah, makes sense. Nowadays, obviously, it doesn't feel that surprising with all the technologies we have, like GPS guided, radar guided, infrared guided. There's so many guiding technologies one thing can have. Basically, increases accuracy rate by like immensely. Nowadays, we have too many too many rockets like that, right? Like barracudas and things, like we just saw videos of a sandboxx. Like they're just making it better. Now you can think that same thing, but with now bombers, right? Bomber payloads are same laser guided and like all those guided things, which will be insanely accurate. Basically, making like bombers way too overpowered because they can drop insane amount of payload, insane amount of like rockets. But they're all laser guided, so it will basically hit a lot of targets. Just one plane can do that. B-2 Spirit can do that basically, too insanely powerful. Now think about B-21 being even better, stealthier, and just like, yeah, before people know it, a lot of targets are destroyed just by one plane.
Into precision-guided smart weapons. And the JDAM first saw action from the bomb bays of those B-2 Spirits in Operation Allied Force, usually carrying 16 of them at a time. But rather than sending a whole fleet of B-2 bombers, each dropping all 16 of their bombs at the same target in hopes that some of them might hit it, a single B-2 could hit a single target with a single bomb. In fact, of the 652 JDAMs dropped by B-2s throughout Operation Allied Force, 98% of them scored a direct hit. And since then, bombers have gone from aircraft we field in huge numbers to drop huge numbers of bombs in hopes of striking a handful of targets to high-end, exquisite pieces of technology.
Yeah, seriously, like I still remember watching that video about like sounds of World War II. And there's this horde of like a bomber sound, like rumbling, just like holy shit, imagine the panic. And you think like that's the most panicky thing you can expect from a war, from World War II. From that, we gone to the point like silence must be like the worst thing ever, because now we are surgical plane, stealthier plane. You won't even know something is coming before you're dead and exploded. The technology is rising so much that World War III is going to be panic of silence rather than some sound. Rumbling explosions, that's not going to be a thing. No, it's like if you hear explosion, you're probably dead. That's what's going to be the thing.
Technology that can strike individual targets with individual munitions with a supreme degree of accuracy. In a real way, bombers went from being shotguns to being sniper rifles. And as a result, we have completely changed the way we think of these platforms and the way we think of civilian casualties in warfare. These days, if a wayward American bomb or missile takes out a dozen civilians, that becomes a huge story all around the world. And we should be happy for that, because it really was not long ago, it was in my own father's lifetime, that carpet bombing civilian population centers was not only seen as strategically viable, it was seen as a reasonable option to achieving military ends. And today, that has all changed, thanks in no small part.
Remember Japan in World War II, before the nuclear bombs? Carpet bombing was happening in civilian places, obviously. So just imagine like trying to take out one base or something, or like one target or something, the whole whole complexes and people where they live, towns and things, they were like constantly getting bombarded. People living there, kids living there, bombs dropped there, right? I recently learned about like how Americans basically drop leaflets, telling people we're gonna bomb this place, go to safety or some shit, knowing that there are real people living there, like we have to do this, but there are actual people there. Dilemmas like that. It's World War II. Like Japan, like we have to defeat Japan. Only way we can defeat Japan is like bomb innocent people, civilians. So best thing they can come across is like, let's drop leaflets first, telling them we're gonna bomb this and then bomb it. Now they don't have to do that, because if there is like even a B-2 bomber is probably gonna attack some fuel depot or some military base, not civilian people.
To the invention of the JDAM.
Yeah, so that accuracy like that, you think like, oh, wait a minute, we are making war, death, and destruction efficient. Isn't that fucked up? Same thing with any science. The same thing applies here. Like you can see it like that. Maybe efficiency of this kind of equipment will raise wars and like something like that. But in reality, it just makes wars in a way safer. Because now only thing there will be targeted is military bases and military things, not people. Right? Same thing to science. People like, oh, science getting like a nuclear bomb. Oh, wait a minute, science and Einstein created a nuclear bomb. But without nuclear bomb, Japan wouldn't have stopped. Way too many people would have died without nuclear bomb. So it's like you can see in that way. But in reality, like accuracy of things just makes things safer in a way. Alright, well, that was Bombers Change Forever by channel Sandboxx. If you like my subscribe, and I'll see you next time.